So as I said, dashboard is just one module of a web app. So calling this whole platform a dashboard is actually wrong. This is the overview section of your web app, right? So we pick a frame, our desktop frame. Now when you're designing for web apps, we have two navigation here, right? We have the side navigation, we have the top navigation. Now this side is the top navigation, right? This side is the side navigation. This is where your content is. This is where your content lies. So for the side nav, the advisable width is 260. For the side nav, the advisable width for your side nav is 260. So let's draw a frame and then let's take out 260. I'll just give it yeah. So let's give it this. Now what's left is this other side, right? So for this one, then I just duplicated this frame because I want to split this other section into different layouts, right? So if I duplicate this, and you know that you cannot just start creating layout, it has to be inside a frame. But if I create it inside this one, see the way we do it, right? If I put layout grid, I change this to column, and I want it starts from this edge, which is not what I want. So you could as well use the way you put it to the left or move it to the right, and then put your offset to the 260 that we talked about. Sorry, left 260 we talked about, and keep on increasing your width till you fill the whole count. But our alternate way to do it is, since we know that layout grids happen inside a frame, so what I can do is I could draw a frame. I could draw a frame in this remaining part, right? I've drawn a frame. Now I can then put my layout grid inside that section. So I don't need to now do the computation of moving 260 and then dividing it by 12, all of that. I just draw a frame and then do my layout grid inside that place. So go 12, and then for web apps, right? Your margins 24 or 32. For web apps, your margin 24 or 32. I prefer using 32 just to give it space by the side, more space by the side. Then got out 16 or 20, up to you, right? Let me leave that 20. So now we have this. We have our left side now. And what do we have in the left side? So this what we have as our left side now on the left. And we have the logo, right, which is this. We'll talk about the spacing soon, but let me just get the structure out. So we have the logo, then we have all these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 of them. We have a line like a divider. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of them. And then this upgrade thingy. So now we know what we have. We can then start designing accordingly. So I'll just push these guys out. I'll leave the logo. Let the logo just stay there because I don't have any logo yet. I'll leave the logo. So because of I don't have the exact icons I would like to use for, I mean, exactly as this person did it. Well, I'll just use dummy icon. Then, of course, you know that you can change icon anytime. So we have icon, we have the section, the page title, and then we have an indicator, right? Now, this indicator is to let the user know that this is where they are at the moment. Yes, we have done this to be blue, right? But then for someone with color impairment or vision impairment, right? This would be a problem because then this will still remain the same color, which is not what we want to achieve. So then that's why this person did this. You know, as I said earlier, replicating a design is not a problem. Anybody can do that. But then what sets you apart is you knowing why this person did this, why did he take this direction and not this direction. So this might be just one reason of having this. Also, right, this person might not have done this because of what I just said. But then from my perspective, this is why this was put here. So that if I come to the second stage, even though the color changes, an indicator is here letting me know, okay, I am in wallet now, right? So now how do we get that overview? Then our logo, sorry, our icon. Let me just see if I have something like that. Okay. So then I can also lay out this tool using my Shift A. I have it the distance between them. I can make it 12 pixels, just so it's a little bit closer, right? Then this indicator by the left hand side. So I just use my rectangle, just draw it with four pixels maybe. This is your F. Is it? You know, as we said, the touch area should be 44 by 44. The touch area 44 by 44 greater, right? So the distance between um, this and your padding or your margin, the distance between the icon and your margin should be 44 pixels higher. So now we have this. I can easily make this as 56. Let's make it 12. Okay, so we have one. Now we've made one of this menu. Now all these ones on that they're just the repetition of this menu, but then this is not there anymore. Then a couple of changes so that we can have reusable component. Because I would like to turn this into a component. I know we've not talked about components and we've not gone deep into auto layout, so this might be different for you or maybe odd for you for now, right? What component does is it helps you have one source of truth in the sense that if I make probably a button, say if I make this a button and I make it a component, right? Um, if I duplicate it, maybe I bring it here now, and later on, the client comes to me or the development team come and say that the color of the button is not white, it's blue. And maybe I have this in multiple places, right? Multiple places. I before component came into place, we will go and start changing it from different places. I'll come to the screen, change the white to the blue that it said it is, and come here, do the same thing. But with component, right, you can just decide to go for the main component, which is this one at the top, and just change it to blue, and it affects everybody else, right? Now to make the component more composite, I can say peradventure later on, I need an icon, right? So I can bring the icon inside the main component, right? And I can turn it off, I can hide it. Then when I'm now at the spot where I want to use the icon, then I can come inside and reveal it. Now it did not affect the other child components, it just affected who I'm with, right? Now you notice something that when you brought in the icon, if I turn off the icon, the height of this is 43 right now. Although we not do much because ideally this also pump up to about 24. So this then just stays at 48, right? But let's say this is it. But for the purpose of what I want to highlight, let's say we do something that the icon is, I mean the line height is what it is. We not modify it. If I bring in this icon, the height of this thing adjusted, right? But then that's why if you check the typography scale I was telling you guys to create, for your text, 16 pixels, the line height is 24 pixels. So if you do it that way, if I turn off this, my icon, mind you, my icon is 24 by 24. If I turn off my icon, the height stays the same. But unlike this one, where the line height, we did not modify it, we just used default line height to be 19. Now, if I turn on my icon, see, it has increased to 48. But then in the case where the icon is not there, it is 43. So across board, I'll be having inconsistent button height, which is a problem. But if I made this, right, say from the main component, now I make it to be 24 pixels. If I bring in my button here, it doesn't affect the height of the button. So I bring my icon, it doesn't affect the height of the button because this already has a height of 24 pixels. This guy coming in with 24 does not change anything, right? So that's what I intend on doing here. I just did this so I could just cite an example. So over here, as you can see, in the other cases, we have different assets. In this market, we have an indicator letting you know that it's for pro users. Under watch list, we have a plus, right? Under wallet, we have an indication. Down here, we have 2. Down here, we have 3. Down here, we have 1, right? Icon, something, something. So I want to make this one to be reusable everywhere. So what I can do is I can duplicate this and then bring it to this edge. Then tell this one to fill container, meaning pushing it to this place. If I do not tell it to fill container, if I start typing, this moves, right? But if I tell it to fill container, let me just give it the height of 24 as we talked about. If I tell it to fill container, if I keep typing, it doesn't affect the guy by the side. It doesn't affect this guy. Even when it reaches the mass, it just breaks into the second line. So we have here to be overview. I can label this probably left icon or right icon, and then this to be left icon, content, or maybe label menu, label. Then this to be indicator, and the whole thing itself should be menu. So why I did this is so that when I get to market, all I need to do is change this to pro. When I get to watch list, change this to plus. If I duplicate this and then say I'm doing for market, of course, market doesn't have the indicator because indicator is only for um, when I am on that particular section. So if I turn this off, see that this guy moved a bit, which is really not what we want to achieve. Because right now, if I bring in my ruler line, it's not it's not there again, right? So that's not what we want. In that case, I can set this instead of it to be up. I mean, let me just turn this. Let me turn this off. Okay, no, I just turn it to white. Yeah, let's just turn it to white. So now that's for that case. So in this one, I can then make this a component, right? And then I'll just take it outside. Since it's my main component, I'll duplicate it, either use the alternate and drag, or I just click Command D and then I have a second one and bring it outside. So this is my child component. Let me bring it back inside here. Now for overview, I will turn this off from the main component because I don't need it. Now the next one, this should be white because it's not an indicator. For the distance between these guys, right? So there's no particular distance you should follow. You just keep on tweaking it till it fits what you want. There are some cases that it's 40, other cases is 48, right? So let's use exactly what we are seeing here. So I'll just use the color picker tool and pick this dark. Um, Turn off this white. Ideally, I should not be doing all this guesswork if I created my color style. You know, when you're creating color style, there's a part you have for neutrals where you have all the shades of black we use, black light, black dark, F4, FAEF, just like that. So you won't need to be coming here and then selecting a style or a color that fits. You already have them in your palette. So you just to click and select. Now during our assignment, I told some of you to create styles, and then there were some of you that could not do that. To create styles is say I have this text, just come here and click here, click on plus, label it what you want to label and create it. Now, what this does for you is that anywhere in your design, wherever you are, if you want to use the same thing you use there, just select the style and then it gives it the style. So we have for this, I'll just do the same thing here on this. Now the reason I'm duplicating it and it's just entering the next one and the spacing is the same is because I made all these guys auto layout and I give them a padding of 16 pixels. So if I duplicate this one, the distance between this and this is 16, right? But in real sense, because there's nothing here, the main distance is actually 40 pixels, right? Because distance between this and then this guy is 40 pixels. So now we have for this we have for this. So we want to give this a little bit more spacing inside. So we just come to our main component, right, and then probably pump the left hand side to maybe 24 pixels, right. Ideally, distance between your margin and this guy is, as we put here, 32. So what should be here should be 32 pixels. Distance between, when we're creating this layout, our margin is 32. So it's only ideal that our margin also should be 32 pixels. So I'll just do the same thing on the right hand side. Now what this did here, you might not see it, but if I turn this right icon, you will now see that the distance between the icon and the border is 32 pixels. If I turn it off, you would think nothing changed. So we have our overview. These other guys can have a weight of probably medium, right? But these guys should have a thicker weight so that we don't just use colors to show difference. Now, also when designing for dark mode, it's not advisable to use pure white being FFFF, right? So you use a lighter shade of white. But of course, if you create your style guides, if you create your color styles, you will not have a problem selecting your color. So for markets, we have something called Pro here, right? So let's just create something like that. So I'll just create the Pro, make it an auto layout, right? Set my auto layout. Remember the height of this, our Pro, which is the height of our icon, our right icon is 24 pixels. So it's only ideal that whatever I replace it with should be 24 pixels also, right? Now for 14 pixels, and line height is 20. That's why you can see that for 14 pixels, sorry, for 14 pixels, and we have our horizontal padding 4, vertical padding 2, we ended up at 24 pixels, just exactly what we want. So let's give this a corner radius of probably 12, right? Just rounded. I'll turn on the color so you can see what it is. Um, so I'll just pick this yellow, right? Maybe a shade of yellow to be the main color. But then for this background, we want it to be pastel yellow. So we'll just come here. You must be in HEX, right? So if you change it to HSL, meaning hue, saturation, and lightness, you can modify your lightness to probably 97, and then you get a very light shade of the yellow you want, right? If it still doesn't give you what you want, you can then also, at least now you have your lightness, you can then modify. Where exactly am I? I keep on modifying it until you get what you want. So let's say we are working with this. I want to give these guys more width. So I have Pro. So I'll just rename it to Pro and I'll make it a component, right? Now the reason I made it a component is because I'm trying to change this right icon with this one. But then this right icon is a component. So the only way I can change it is if I change it with another component, right? So now that we've made this a component, now let's come into market. What do I use for watch list now? Uh, anyway, I'll just use this for watch list for the purpose of this. So I come to market, I turn on my right icon, and then I can change it to what what we've created, which is Pro, right? I can change it to Pro, which we've created. So in this Pro, I could reduce maybe the opacity. I could reduce it a bit, so so you can see it, and then maybe make this one lighter, so you could see the Pro well. Now for watch list, what we have is plus. So the same thing, just turn the right icon on and then change it to plus. If you have plus in your icon set, just change it to plus. I think it's this color of plus, but not yeah, a lighter shade. So around something like this. Just use your color picker and just pick exactly what you want. Okay. For history, we have nothing. For wallet, we have one blue dot. So to make the blue dot, just draw a circle, right? It must not be very big. It can be just 12 by 12. Then make it into an auto layout, and then set it to be that 24 pixels, right? I want this to be a shade of a dark blue. So I convert it to a component also, and then inside the wallet, turn on my right eye, and then get my blue dot. So now I have the blue dot. Okay, so now I have the first one. There's a dividing line, right? So just use the L on your keyboard and just draw a line. Let's say this is the color I want to use for our line. Now you know it's 32 by 32, right? So let's use 32 by 32. I have this first one, the second one. I make them to an auto layout, give them 40 pixels between. Now this one at the bottom is just a replica of this. So instead of creating it all over again, I have a set here. I just duplicate it, bring it down. So I have both up and down. I can then rename them to what I want. So this should be inbox, offers, invitation, settings. So for settings, I'll just use this one because I want to easily change this and do something like this. Not exactly this, but you get what I'm trying to do. So we just keep on using what we have. Just get the idea, right? So now we're able to create all this. We have something here from your icon, like from your from your logo to the beginning of your menu. So you might want to give it probably 40, 48, just enough spacing between them. But of course, this is dependent on your logo. There are some logos that they are not proportional. I mean, there are some that the height is longer than the width, and giving it too much length, I mean too much space, it will not tally because this has to tally with it, right? Whatever you give here, it has to tally with this one. So let's start with 40 pixels, and this also let's start with 40 also. They are modifiable. There's no standards. There's no. It must be this. It all depends on your use case. I mean, if I had more than five of these, say I had about eight, I would of course reduce the distance between these two, right? I could reduce them a bit so that I could have most of my stuff here. Now the last one I have here is this upgrade to pro version. So let's just do it quickly. So I have the text, then I need the button that says upgrade. So I will just convert it to an auto layout, and then I need this icon. You can find them on the Figma community. Just search for 3D icons. You'll see a lot of icons that you can just pick from. Of course of time, I would not want to do that, but yes, let me just pick one. Let's see, we have Sally 3D, and I want this guy, right? I just want this one. So just copy it away from here, bring it into where you want, and then you paste it, resize it just to fit what you want. So now we have our let me just come outside. We have this, we have this, we have our button. I can just auto layout all three of them, right? Give them a padding of 24 and 12, turn it to white. And then we're getting to what we want. Although this one is away from it, right? In that case, it's difficult to achieve this with auto layout. So you might don't want to do it the normal way, rectangle, and then put this guy slightly offset. But also we are consistent. That is, no, let me just replicate it exactly as it is. Um, so we have a rectangle that covers them. And this one is a little bit bigger, so it came outside. And I'll start with 15 pixels for this guy, right? But I still want to auto layout this too. Now for this one, if you want to go, this is where what you know, you keep it aside and then use what you can see, right? If I want to go with the normal way, we want to stay within our 8-point grid, of course, I would say this should be maybe 8 or 16, right? But then it might be way too far from, there's white space here, as you can see, all these places, even though it's part of this icon, right? But then it's not part of it because there's white space here and then this white space. So what you can do is augment by pushing this, maybe bringing your ruler and then putting it under here, then taking the distance between the ruler and it and stay within your 8-point grid, right? Well, in real sense, if I select both of them, you can see that it's -5. By the right hand side, you see that it's -5. But visually, right, it is actually 16 pixels, right? So I'll reduce this a bit. Let's say 62. So I could frame all these guys, right? Control Command G, frame all of them. But I want the frame to start from here. Yeah, I don't want, because if I put the frame to start from the top, if I bring this inside here, when I'm checking for distance between this and this, right? Let me um let me bring it inside here. I'm checking for distance between this component, right, or this element and this is 89, but in real sense it is actually 159, right? So I made it a frame, but then I use holding your control key, reduce the frame to just be this, so that when I'm checking the distance, the actual distance is accurate now, right? Yes, somebody hand is up. Okay, so I'll just delete. Um, yes, Yemi, your hand is up. Do you have a question? Let me increase the size of this.
That was
Remember
a mistake.
what?
That was a mistake.
All right. So remember, the height of your frame can increase, right? It can increase down, but the width of your frame should not increase. But this is your this is your desktop frame, so the width should not increase, but the height can always increase. So let's increase our height, and of course increase this. Then modify this to fit. Mind you, this is just for I mean, for presentation purpose. So this what this guy did here just for presentation purpose. In real life, this has to be inside the content. It cannot be outside my laptop. It has to be inside. So, but this is just for illustration purpose. So we have this, and then let's start from 16. Let's stay with 16. Instead instead of white background, I'll just use a lighter shade of my background, right? Just a lighter shade. Um, lighter shade works better. That's fine. Okay, so let's just stay with our 40 pixels. This, and that's fine. So now we are done with our side nav. Although a lot of refinement can still come in here, right? When you are done, you can still come here and then do some refinement. But the major framework has already been gotten from the side now. Now moving into the actual design. So I'll just expand this and I will lock the side. Now, if you look inside, you see an arrow here. Now, what this arrow does is if I click on it, it just hides all this my side nav and change them into only icons, right? There are sometimes you see in some designs you will see only icons as their side nav, but then that arrow it helps to close it and open it. Close your side nav, right? So now we are done with our side nav. Let's go into our design. So there's a top nav part, which is this top nav. Let me just take it up. So I'll start from 32. What we have here is overview. So I want to start this with 24 pixels, and I will start with the same good. Now I don't know the size. I mean the font they used there, but your title should not actually be way too big for web apps. Web app is like a mobile application, but this time it's in a web format. It's not website, right? Next we have is live explore. So I'll just duplicate this and live. Let's say we have live and then we have explore. So let's see how 32 works here. 32 pixel live explore. Then we have search, then this, then this. So for the search, just use okay. For the search, use an auto layout here, just say search. Mm, so we have this for search. Yes, I'm still with the frame, so let me just turn the frame color to a little darker. This time. So it's safe for all your stuff when you're designing, of course, you should know this, that it's safe for all your stuff to be scattered. But most important thing, just get the idea out, get everything out, then alignment and arrangement can come in afterwards. That's why you're saying that I'm not bothered about whether it's aligned properly yet. I'm just getting everything I need outside first before alignment. So this is the first one, then the second one is like an avatar kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So for that, just draw a rectangle. I think set.
àti rẹ̀ ṣì lè máa lọ ní àkókò àkókò rọ̀. Èèyàn lè kọ wípé rẹ̀.
So you have this, right, and then notification inside. So you have notification, you have notification inside. So now let me turn on my grid for this one. So let's start with our arrangement, right? So this comes here. Um, Let me start with 32 pixels. So between this, let's stay with 32 pixels first. So say we have all these, right? Of course, this can always be modified later on. If you find out that the size is way small, when you view it on on a prototype and you see that it's small, right, then you can always increase the size. But it's better to start low than go up instead of starting up and coming down, right? So we have all this. Now the next thing that comes after is activity. All these are your tabs. So I'll just make this aligned vertically. So this 32, 32, 40. Okay. Now this is where my tab will start from. So all this activity, created, collection, own, they'll start from this part. So I just bring one of these, and of course 32 pixels from this side, working with our margin 32 pixels, right? So what we have is activity. Next one is created. There's a count for the created. So usually when I'm having something like this to be a count, I make it two different text. I don't make it one text so that I can decide to turn it on and off anytime I need. So let's say I have this, I gave already 4 between them and then get 23. So I can either turn it off and turn it on anytime that I don't need it, right? So I just made this one auto layout. I don't care about the distance yet. Let me just get everything that I need in this place first. So collections, and then this is 4, right? So we have owned, auctions, listing, and bookmarks. On auction, listing, and bookmarks. So while you're doing this, you might think that how did the person know that you need created, collection, own, auction? Now, most of these things eventually come out when you are working, and then the client lets you know what's expected for each module. It's called a production document, right? So they let you know that in the overview section, well, more often than not, the overview section, where how I approach it, right? The overview section is the last section I design because it's more like every other thing here. It's like giving you a total glance of your market, your watch list, your inbox, pretty much, right? But more often than not, the client lets you know what's expected for each section. It might tell you that in the market, I expect people to be able to do this, do this, do this. That's where user stories falls into also. I know Umi has handled user stories. So user stories like telling you what a user expects to do at each particular point in time, right? So activity created auction bookmarks and listing don't have this. So I will just turn this or hide it and I'll hide it. So for the ones that are not active, now look at what happened here. The ones that is active is just like your side nav indicator is lighter and it has an indicator. The ones that are inactive is a little bit faint. So same thing applies here because currently what this is your activity. If I move to created, this will change. If I move to collection, this will change also. So let's use that same thing. We just copy this color and then select all these other ones that accept activity. But what I did, I just did Control A, clicked on this Control A, held my shift and deselected activity so that I can be faster, right? I paste the color. So you see that this has come out and then activity is now prolonged. When you're done with your rulers, if you don't need them anymore, you can always delete them, right? But I still advise you to keep them until where you're sure that okay, I'm done with rulers need. So we've done this. And instead of 8, I want to bring them into be closer, so they are closer, right? It's not as if it being farther apart is a problem, but you know how it is that things that are closer are perceived as being together, right? So it's just advisable that you just if they are together, they just make them together. So they should be closer. If you see 40 is way too close, increase it to 48, right? There's no compulsion. This is what it must be. It's all perception and you, because you are the designer, so you know if it's too close or it's too far apart. But we can both agree that 120 is too far. I know you want to cover the whole space, but this is too far, right? So let's do 48. So we have this created. Now I might want to tone these guys down instead of them being bold. Maybe I'll make them to maybe medium, so they are just like this, and then this guy is also bold. Because for someone that is visually impaired, now this white will still retain probably black also, maybe black also, right? Every other thing here will retain black. But if this guy is bold and this one is regular, the weights can distinguish that they are two different things. So we don't rely on that. Let's use our indicator. So we just draw a line. There are two ways to do it, right? You can draw a line or draw a rectangle. That depends on you. But in this one, let's draw a line down to this part, 32 by 32. Now, if you want to reduce, if you are designing now and then maybe you went out, maybe now it's 7. I want to come back to 32. Now, instead of you coming here and start reducing and then checking again, you can just use your short keys, right? Click on it, click on the what you want to reduce, hold your control key. On my keyboard, you know those 4 directional arrows. If I click it one, I'm reducing it by 1. If I click back 1, I'm reducing it by 1. If I click front 1, I'm increasing it by 1. If I hold my control and my shift and I hit back, I'm reducing it by 10. So you cannot do your math now. So I want 32, right? This is 17. So if I hit it again, this is 37. I come front and I'm in 32. And then I can keep moving. So anything that you can do to increase your design speed, keep on doing it, right? So now let me take out this. So I have this, right? And then next thing I want is the indicator for under this activity. So I could just draw the indicator using my rectangle. I want the top left to be probably bent a little, top right bent a little, but I want the bottom to be C sharp. So it's design preference. It's not like it's how it ought to be. It's design preference. You might want your everything should to be fully rounded. That's that's up to you, right? But how I want it, I want the top to be bent a little, the bottom bent. I mean the top right, top left, and then the bottom flat. So let's pump this one down a bit. So it's looking like dividers. You can also copy this color of our divider. If we are using a color style, right? So just for consistency, we can collect this one and then still use it here since they both do the same thing as dividers. Right? So I have this, I have this. I can group them. But before I do that, the width of this guy is 58, so I want this width to be 58. Right, that's good. If it was not, you could just easily increase it. Now we have our group of this. Now distance between this and this, let's work with 16. Let's work with 16. Because 16 look too far apart. Let's see. How does 12 work? 12 looking better. Green. Yeah, so let's leave it at 12. Just leave it at 12. So now we have our top. So let me take out these boxes. These were just when we're doing this one. So we don't need it anymore. We have this and this. You know that the distance, this started from the top, right? being here. Yeah, so that's fine. Next, following this, next one we have is live auction. Then we have a couple of cards that are the same thing. If you look at it, this card, they are all the same thing. I mean, I have this, just different color and then probably different indication. So if I make one and make it into a component, I could just duplicate it and then expand it around, right? So let's make one of these. Before that, we have live auctions. So I'll bring this down and then turn it down to around 28 pixels because I don't want them to, there ought to be one senior man. There cannot be two senior men. So this one has to come down a bit. Yeah, let's leave it as a cerebral also. Let's do 24. Let's do 24. Okay. So live auction, start from the left hand side. Live auctions. Sorry, one sec. So we are putting our live auction. Now let's turn our grid for this one so we can just get exactly the width we want to get. So if I come into this, say I want five, right? So you know how it is. Just change this to five. So we know the exact width we want to use. If you want four, just change to four and then you know the exact width we want to use. I would prefer to use four so that I will not I will have enough space to do this. But I'm seeing that if I decide if I want to use five, there might really not be enough space. Now this person's layout might not be this 1440 selected. It might be probably 151512, meaning it's wider. But we're using 1440 and we don't want everything to be close together. So I might want to use four count here, right? So now I have this. A, I will have to come back in like 5 minutes. Let me come off for into my gym. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So in so with this, now we have four, so we know the width of our items. So I'll just draw a rectangle here. Now mind you, looking at this, we have an image, we have this. So let me just draw a rectangle. Now the height of an image, you determine that, or the client determines that. Now if you want the image to be more pronounced than the text, of course, you make the image higher or larger because, of course, the image is what draws people here. It's not the seller or the amount. It's actually, if they find the image more interesting, so you want to put more priority on the image. That's why it was made bigger. I was working with the client recently, and then he said he wanted his image to be smaller, not bigger, because apparently their company goal says that they don't emphasize image, they emphasize the price. So as I said, either you or the client. But if it's you, you put into account what would the user want to see the most? What would draw them to clicking this? Is it the image or the price? And you prioritize the section you decide on. Let's say we have this. Now I will not I don't want to restrict the size. I'll just draw the height here. When I'm done, as we said, we'll make one into a component and then just duplicate it and change it, right? So I'll just draw it large, then we'll tweak it as we go on. So we have an image, then we have a second section underneath, right? I'll be using auto layout for this. So I'll first draw my image. I'll draw my rectangle this. Then the second section we need is the lister, the person that listed it, your bid 8.4. This your bid. I don't. Okay, live auctions. Okay. So your bid works for live auction. Okay. But ideally, it should probably current bid, current bid. Yeah, current bid. Um. Okay, so I'll just duplicate this. Let me have a text here, and then probably turn this down to about probably 14 pixels, no, 16 pixels. Put in the name, and I need here to be current bid. Um, current bid. So maybe I also want to put the image of this person, right, over this place. So I'll just draw a circle and then put the image of the person. So I'll set this image to 32 pixels. I don't want to be too large, 32 pixels. And then this is fine, 24 as we said. Current bid. So let's work with 14 since it's the label. The one thing I want to highlight also, yeah. So labels are like informations. They're like extra information, extra guidance. So on no account should they be bigger than the main thing. Labels are extra information, extra guidance. So they should not be bigger than the main content. So we have this, and then what we have here probably is the bid, right? 8 points, maybe TH. Okay. So I'll also lay out these two, give them distance of 16, but at the same time I'll spread it. I give them padding of probably inside each other, 12 pixels. Then I'll spread this so it's here, and tell this one to fill container, right? Do you know why we use fill container? Of course, so that what if prevent your, since I'm making this for different people, I don't control the content, right? It's a user controlled content or user generated content, UGCs. This person name might be Odemelam Emmanuel, that's my name. But if we don't make it, not give enough space, when the developer develops it, you will see that the name now will be entering into 3 or 4 lines. Meanwhile, this one will now still be at this place. How do I mean? if I set this to all content, right? Now, probably say this is for this user. Now, for a second user, and my name is Demla Emmanuel, I see that the distance between this and this is 95, but this and this is 48. That's an inconsistency. So that's why we set this to field container. So it's saying that this is the where this item should stay at x220 and y0. That's where it should stay. So for any reason, nothing should make it leave that place. Anything I want to change should be here, and it had the chance to take from this place to this place. If it enters two lines, ellipse it. By ellipsing, I mean dot dot dot, right? Or break it into two lines, depending on you and the developers, right? When I mean depending on you, if you want to prioritize the user's name, I mean the user's identity, maybe you want it to be in full, then you bring it to two lines. But if it's not really that important for it to be in full, in the sense that if I hover on it, right, I should get the person's full information, then you might want to use ellipses. And one way to use ellipses is inside this text. So if I'm entering into two lines, I can come to my text character on my design panel, click on this place. You see something like under resizing, you see something like ellipse, truncate text. Clicking on truncating text, I know I've highlighted it before, then you can reduce this, right? So it ellipses it for you. So if parameter what is under here is enough to enter into that line, it would. But the moment it becomes too much, you see that it now becomes dot dot dot. So your interaction will be if I hover on this, then I will see the whole person's information, right? So let's just go back to having there's the enroma and then this. So I'll put an ID here, just an image. Next one is current bid and then the bid itself. So I can duplicate these two. I mean, I can auto layout these two again, duplicate them, but set this to coming down. Copy, paste to replace, copy, paste to replace, fill, fill, done with you, and then come here. Maybe give me 12 pixels and yeah, a bit 12 pixels. So now I have this, that is this, right? Then don't worry about the sizes yet. When you are done getting whatever it needs, you can always modify your sizes from your main component to fit how you want it. Let's just get the structure out. Now this will house an image, right? Let me just pick one from Unsplash. I'm not go through the hassle of passing through Google. So I'll just pick let's pick architecture. Oh no, abstract. Almost is abstract. Okay, so now we have this. I could easily auto layout these two and then they become one, right? But if you look inside this one, I need to show that this is ending soon. I need to show that you have 1 hour 14 minutes left. At least that's what I understand this to be, 114. Well, how do I do that? Because this is just an image layer. So if I say I want to bring in that time now, if I bring inside, it just adds on top my already existing auto layout. But that's not what I want, right? I want it to be on top. This is my text, this is my image. So how I can do that is converting this image to a frame, right? So I could just frame selection. Now it's a frame. So I can then bring this guy inside the frame. If you notice on your layers panel, it is inside the frame. It's still with these guys, they still move together, but then it is no more with the auto layout. It's now inside this image frame. So that's how you can do this with auto layout. So you have this as you have the image as a frame, then bring this into the image. So you've achieved that. So what we need is ending soon and this. So let's start our ending soon. So up here, just put ending soon. Now remember we have this blue dot, so I'll just utilize it also. Bring it into my image frame which I've created. So everything is now inside this frame. So I have these two. I can auto layout them, and then they are both ending soon. Our distance between this and this frame is about 12 pixels. So let's just maintain that same energy, 12 pixels. So you might see that this, because of the fact that you cannot control what the user uploads, that is where the designer in you comes out, right? Thinking out of the box, basically, edge case scenarios. Now I cannot control what the user uploads. What if I set my text to be white? Now, what if the user uploads a white image, right? Now, how would they see that this is ending soon? Clearly, it's not visible enough. So that's where you bring in overlays, or linears. So if I add a rectangle, now I can add something on top of the rectangle. I can, instead of solid, give me linear. So you should start from the top, right? And then you see that the top is becoming darker than the way it should be, the way it was before. So irrespective of, you can reduce the opacity, of course, irrespective of the text that, I mean, the input this user inputs, the top already, the development team must have already made this top a little bit darker so that this ending soon will be visible, and then we would not sacrifice the image since we are paying attention to the image. So you can, this is one way to do it, right? You just use your linear, dark linear, and then make it a little bit darker. A second way to do it is, if you decide not to go the linear route, you can just use a rectangle. To get rectangle, I can just draw rectangle again, right? But so that we should be faster, right? Because when I'm designing, I like to be fast. Any way that I can reduce the step I take to achieve my goal, I do it. I know I want a rectangle. I have one here. I can just duplicate it, then turn off the image, and then I have my rectangle. No need going to go all around. So you can have a rectangle. Now give this thing probably an overlay of this sort. Reduce to the top, and then increase the opacity until you get what you want, right? So this it's advisable, because as you can see in this case, there is something under here that you can see that, okay, there is actually something here. It's not, we not hide them, you get, but the aim is to hide it, but then it should be there, but it should not be there. But over at this linear, you can see that it just blended in without we even doing too much. It just blended in. You can increase it up so that one can come from the top or come from here. But then you do not really notice it that, okay, there's actually a problem, or this up is darker than the bottom. Yeah, so that's how to achieve it. So let's say we go with this linear route, and then I give my ending soon. I give it pure white, and you also. So another way to also say this ending soon, if you don't want to go this route, is using what was used under here. Put an overlay, a rectangle overlay on it, and then put your text inside. But if you do that here, there will be too much on this image, which is already defeating the purpose we want to achieve. Yeah, it's already defeating it, so there's too much. So we can have ending soon at the top, at the top here. In an attempt to also prioritize the image here, I would want to bring, instead of this 1 4 left, I want to bring it down here, right? So I don't want to be inside the image itself. I want to be probably somewhere down here. Let me just use come inside. So now I have this. Mind you, it's already in auto layout, but then I just want this. So I can then change this, instead of it to be white, I can use a darker one, set it to 0, set my top to 12. Set this bottom, right? I want everything to have 12 corner radius, like everything should be rounded. But then these are two separate components. I mean, we have one here at the top, frame 33. Let's name it image. And then we have the one at the bottom. Let's name it description, right? So if I put 12 all round, it affects just the general frame. But we have one under here which is 00. That's what we want. So we can just open it, come to the bottom and put 12 at the bottom, and put 12 at the bottom. Sorry, 12. I want this one to be 0. So now we have our button to be 12. Same thing at the image. You can click on the image itself and then open it, come here, put 12, put 12. And now we've gotten the roundness that we always wanted, right? So now this is this. You can always reduce the opacity of this guy. Just so it's still there, but then it's not there. So now I have this. So if you notice, every other thing had the same thing. This just changed to green, active. Every other guy has basically the same thing. So I can make, and we've already gotten our layout for this. Everything got to the where we want, the route we want. So I can just have this as probably auction, make it into a component, right? Duplicate it and bring the auction outside. So peradventure later the client now said no, I want this one to be inside here. Instead of you doing it in 10 places to reduce it, just bring it inside and bring it inside this guy, and you've got what you wanted. You've basically got what you wanted. As you can see in this case, it has happened here. You can turn this off and it's off here. So you don't need to start and do it every single place. So now that we have this, we can then duplicate this into 4. What was our margin? I mean our gutter. Sorry, our partner. I think we used 20. Yeah. So let's say this is where it started from 20, 20 and 20. So if this is 28, meaning the size of this our stuff, there was a problem in it. Meaning the size of this thing, there was a problem in it. So let's see. If I done this correctly, I should not encounter this problem. It's one pixel missing. Since we are still at this infancy, I'll just increase it a bit. So I'll come here. Okay, so I'll just increase it a bit, one pixel, and set every other guy to fill container so that it just fills in. Let's see. Okay, so now it's 32, 32. So I did not zoom in to ensure that I was snapping to the exact of our layout. That's why we're having that problem. But as I did this to the main component, you can see every other thing just adjusted. So I'll bring the main component guy outside again. So he's alone. And we have our four. So we can always, let me just change this image. Um, we are way past time though, but let's just wrap it up. Not like for this abstract. Okay, okay. So let's say these are the abstract. They can change the name of the person. Name. I want to give um the price a little bit more priority, considering the fact that people want to buy. The current bid also matters if I want to purchase any item, right? So might pump it up a bit, probably 18 pixels. Try 20 and see how it looks in your final design. Is it overemphasizing? Then you bring it down to 18 pixels, right? Is it how it is? This current bid is still competing with it, but we don't want too much attention on the current bid, so we can tone it down a bit. All right, so now it's current bid and then it's this. So now it's looking better, right? So we have this to be active, right? And then this is green. So I'll just select one of my green, and then we have active also, and active. So we have active, active, active green. Now we have all these. I'll just set them to auto layout. Distance between these two, 24 pixels. This 40. Now we are done with this. The next stage under here is this recent history. So you have a label header already, so just duplicate it. Distance between it, leave it at the same 40 that you were running with, just for consistency, right? Running with 14. Recent history. Now down here, we have a table with headers and table contents, and then there is a slider here to tell you that there are more, so you can slide. There are options here to navigate all history, purchase, transfer, listing, auction. So over here, he could easily just, or she could easily just use a drop down to say all history and then put a drop down, right? But if you can easily list it out so users can click, it's better than, because now in this case, to navigate to purchase, I'm using just one click, meaning I'm clicking on only purchase, right? But if I use the drop down to navigate to purchase, I have to click on the drop down first, select purchase before purchase comes. Now that's long step. So if you can lay it out bare so that they can easily navigate, it's better. But of course, if you have too many options, then you can just lay a couple of them and then an icon that indicates more, or you can say see more. Lay a couple of them, the most used, and then one that says see more to move up. So we have recent history and then we have the tables. So I'll just quickly run through this. So all history, I'll just make one. Okay, so I'll make this and then I'll probably give this 20 pixels, give it a feel. Our primary color is blue, so we'll use the same blue, or maybe I'll take different opacity, and then the white should be the same blue, but I'll get it darker, or lighter opacity. What am I changing? All right. So since this is active, I want to change it to bold. Why the other guys should just remain who they are. So we have one, all history. So I'll make it a component and then I'll just bring it out just in case later I have a problem with it. Instead of doing, I'm using it more than once, I make the component. So in this one, I don't need this. Then I want this to retain what we've been using here as our inactive state. So next is purchase transfer listing. So I'll just use purchase and transfer. Distance between these two now, let's 12 pixels. Because you know why I use 12? Now, as we saw in this case, right, where there was a white space here. Now, if I use to say I decide to go 24, right? If I look too far apart, right? Because already, even though this one, when I turn this on, it looks like it's appropriate. The spacing now is appropriate. But when it's not active, it is now too long. So we use it to be closer like this. Then if it's now, of course, since only one can be selected at a time, if purchase is selected, that means this guy is deselected, still retaining the space that we wanted to retain. I hope that makes sense though, but if it doesn't, we'll go over it again at some other time. So next is transfer. Let's just say we have these three. Let me just make a fourth one. Listing or auction. I have this, I have my recent history. I can put them together, come here, give me 40 pixels. Now, if you see with this one, distance is 47, but with this guy, the distance is 14. So 40 pixels what we are using because these two, they are a group. Sorry, this and this, they are together and it's 40. I can usually make, if I make this 40, now you can see that it's not aligned. So you align to center and then the group 40 pixels, which works for us. So we can snap this one to the right hand side and then we have 30 to 32. For this one, you can see that everything as purchased is the same thing you see for transfer, list, and purchase. So you can just make one row, make it a component, duplicate it, modify it to what you fit, and then you have your table. So we'll just do that quickly. So let me increase this height. Now we'll have enough space to work with. First of all, I'll draw my frame around, which is that is 32, 32. I'll lock it because I don't want to do anything inside. I just want to see a boundary between my stuff, so I'll just lock it. So next we have is, oh no, let me just open it. We have events, that labels. As I said earlier, the labels cannot be greater than the main text, so we'll pump this to about 14 pixels. Might look too small, but this is at outside scale, right? Like when we are viewing from a distance. But if I zoom in and then I'm looking at my screen just like this, let me use lighter version of mine. Oh, let me stress. So if I'm looking at it up front, right on my laptop, it is just appropriate. Let's say we use 14 for the event, and then the next is object from/to amount event object from/to amount value time link. And you see the difference of using different um, different text layers. I saw someone doing something like this when I was marking assignment 21K, and first you use enter 1, 2, then now wrote something like about, let's just say it's about, and then justify its center. Then use that line. If the person is here, no, I'm talking about, then use that line and then delete again. Now, I cannot tell the distance between this and this. I cannot tell the distance, but if I use two layers, say I cut this one, and then I duplicate this, and I use two layers, you can then tell the distance between these two, and you can motion them, you can adjust them properly to fit what you need, instead of using one text layer and then hitting enter, enter. So I could easily use one text layer to write all these things and just put event, then hit enter, spacebar, 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 object, space, 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 space. Without, if I don't look into it, I can, if I don't look into it, right, if I don't inspect it, they look almost the same thing. If I bring this here, and then I put space, 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 no, come from the side. You might look at the same thing, but then this is just one text. So for prevention, now when later on I see that these guys ought to align to the left of it, what then would I do? I'll now come and start reducing the space. Doesn't not good practice basically. So if you need two text fields, just create new two text fields. You're not paying for it yet, right? Now we have all our table headers. Now, how do you get these table headers? Say you are designing for this platform, yeah. So, how would you get these table headers? What would I know to use to put here? Now, as I said, the overview section is an overview of the entire product. So, of course, the production requirement, the production document would have stated that for a purchase event, you need someone to send it, you need someone to receive it, you need, there's an amount field there, there's a value field there, there's time, and then maybe there are other things, right? So just attach a link to the main stuff, right? So you must have probably done all this, the purchase, the transfer, the list section, before you then come and then take key performance indexes, take key values, or take key sections that are very important for a user to know that this is an overview of my purchase event. Well, in this case now, there might be about 20 other things you need for this your purchase to be complete, right? But these four, one, two, three, four, five, six, these six, they already tell me what I need to know. Any other thing is just added advantage, and I can view that if I click on the link. So all these things to put here, you won't manufacture them. It will come from the purchase section, right? Like in this case now, this is the person sending it, you are buying it. So this is the person, this is you. That's why you can see that this repeated more than one time because this is apparently the owner. So this is you, this is you. In this case, this sold to you, you sold to this person. That's why it's transfer. You will just know what to do basically. So now we have all these things. Let's just put 16 on the picture, just bend it a little bit. And then we have all these ones. As I said earlier, I will not talk about alignment yet. I'll get all my structure out before I then start looking at alignment problems and alignment fixing. Next thing I'll need, of course, is a line to demarcate my label from the content, right? So let's say this is my line. And there's something we use for our lines. So I'll just copy it and then I'll use it. So I'll divide as and I'll use it again. So that's it, just for consistency's sake, right? Now, event should be purchased. Let's say event is purchased. So we'll start at 16 pixels, right? Let's use regular 16 pixels. If you want to use 14 as your body as your text, of course, depending on your font, on your typeface, right? Depending on your typeface, 16 might work as your body. Other cases, 14 for your typeface will work as your body. If you're using Inter, then for your body text, you use 14 pixels. As you can see, I don't need to now draw another rectangle, put another image. I have an image up here. I just bring it down and modify it to fit. So purchase, we have object. The next thing we need is to and from. So to and from, we have something like this. So let me just bring this guy downstairs and then set it to maybe hot content. When you come this way, spacing between two of you, just come a little bit closer. I just copied the properties of this and pasted it here. That is Control Alt and C, or then you just right click, copy properties, and then I just come here and then paste properties. So if I want to collect this one, which is 14 semi bold, then I'll come here, copy properties, come here, paste, and it will just fit 14 semi bold now. You get no need going to modify it myself. So, but then I want this. There are shortcuts also, of course, if you see them, you will see Control Alt and C, Control and V. So, yeah. So now I have this. I can delete this. You come up from, and then there's an arrow that says to, of course, to. So I want to bring the arrow. I have an icon here, and then I'll just come and change it to arrow. Which one works for me? Let's use this. So I have this, and then let's work with 20 pixels. Auto layout two of them, and then duplicate this because both of them have images, right? They both have images, so duplicate of them. So I have my from to next one is amount. So all of you come here. Amount, let's say is this, let's say this, and sorry, amount is not, it's quantity. And let's say value, and then probably the time, 9:30, 30. I get the time for this. No, say time. Yeah, so let's say 9:30 a.m. and then I want to put probably to the 14th of August 2026. So I'll bring this down or to lay out this to. I think at the end we have to use 14 pixels for this text, but let's keep moving. And then the link, and then the link is long as link, blah 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 blah. Uh, let's see, that's our link, right? Now we have everything we need for these labels and then the content. So just now align them and then convert it all to layout and then duplicate them to form this our history thingy, right? So let's just do that quickly. So this is this purchase. Let's stick with 14 pixels for our content. So let's just use 14 for our table, right? Table. Okay, just so that we can have more than one, or I mean a lot at the first viewport. Because if it was too big and then we still need more spacing, then we might just end up having just three or four in this space. Anyway, I want to have a lot since it's a table, right? But to then de-emphasize the headers, that's where we then use width and color. So we can just turn this down, probably down a little. So it's still there as the header, right? But then it's not affecting visually all these guys, right? So purchase, I mean event, that's fine. Objects come here, that's fine. Because we know what our event can be. Our event can be more than purchase, transfer, auction, listing, right? So we can just use the highest possible entry. The character of purchase is about 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Auction is not up to 8, meaning purchase is the longest that we can get because we can control this, right? So we can always have a fixed size for it. I'll bring this a little bit closer. Okay. Then this come here again. We can control the object also because solid image we want to show, so we can also control that one, right? Quantity is that also. Value. No, 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 no. If I use this one as my base, say I want to check the distance between this and this 4, is 55, right? If I want it to be 32 as we are going, then it should be somewhere around this. Now, what if the quality enter 120? I seen how it's affecting it, right? Well, using there are sometimes where when you are designing for tables, so in some cases you use the label as your bench in terms of distance. In some cases you use the contents. As you can see in this one, it was the content, not the label, right? But in this case, it's the label. So I have for value, then I have for time, then I have for link. Since time, you can control time, so it cannot go more than day, month, and year. It cannot go more than 930. So I have the link, and then I can probably add more, then bring in one icon here, something like this. Yeah, just so you can click and then go to the next line. Alternatively, I can just instead of this to be in two lines, I can make it one line. So it's just this, and maybe de-emphasize the date if that's not what is important, and then I have this. So all of what I've succeeded in doing is I have my event, I have my objects from, I have all these guys. So I can make them into material like this. Or instead of material, I can just group them, right? I group them. Let me not go too deep. I can just group them. Um, I can make them into a component. So let me just name this one history one, history tile. And then if I duplicate it, you're seeing that we're not getting exactly what we want, which is just different tables. Something else I can do is I can put a divider in them, so you know where one stopped, right? I'll just turn this divider down very very faint. I have this one. I can make the components, right? So I'll duplicate it and bring him outside. So I have this one. Distance between this mount to go 12 pixel, that's fine. Then duplicating. Now let's go make all this component. I mean auto layout. Now I have multiple. So you can see that we've basically done this into this. Now let's just merge it. So we have this and then so we have our table. Distance from this table, give me 16 pixels. That is this and this. Auto layout 16. Auto layout. Fill container. Fill container. 40 pixels, 32, 32, 32. Now we can have this and this. Let's work with that 16. And then this 40. Auto layout both of them. So if maybe this 16 was too tight, then we can come in here and just make it 24. But when you make it 24 here, when you come down here, also make it 24 because they share common properties. This is label, this subheading, this is subheading also. So they should share the same distance from their content itself. So with that, we've actually done this. We've done this, and then this what it is. In terms of presentation, you can just there's a Figma there's a Figma community file where you can get this this thing at the top. So all you need to do is just copy your image as a PNG and then just paste it inside and then change this to whatever you want. So if I want to put this in normal width now, say it's because of course this is not what we are using. This is 1440125. So how would it look like for users, right? I'm done with this frame, so I can just take it out and then change this one to what we've been using in the last one. The frame I took out just now was what we use for our grids. So we are done with that, so we can just take it out. So if we want to do this, it will now be probably somewhere around 900. Actually 768, but I don't want to go too deep into why we use 768. So this is what your first user would see at a glance. When the user comes on your platform, this is what they will see. So if eventually you find out that maybe the image is too big, of course we have our image thing here. You can just come in here and then just reduce the height of your image. Now I see how it's responsive because everything is auto layout, right? So if this one reduces in height, it then affects every other thing. So if we see that it's now too small, we can increase it also until we get probably somewhere that it just does exactly what we want. And that's that for that. So we've succeeded in recreating this, and I think you know how we arrived at all this side nav, what we did to get what we did here, how we used one major component, but then we had multiple things inside, and we used them to get what we did here, and how we came up with this using our layouts to get the appropriate sizing, and the little tweak we did here, bringing it down instead of it being inside, so we can pay more attention to the image than closing the image itself. So I will select from, of course, as we all agreed, I'll select from the ones that I hid. From all these ones, I'll select one and send that you guys will create and send back to me before Saturday. Today's Thursday, so before Saturday, you will create it and send to me. The reason I took this much time is because I need to explain to you so you can understand it. When you are doing it, I don't expect you to take this much time because you already know what's expected and how to achieve what you want to achieve. To change all these these names, so you could use there's a plugin called Content Reveal, um, Content Reveal. So instead of changing the name one by one, you could just maybe change the name to whatever name that you want to change, right? But then if I did if I this all these are groups at the moment, they're not auto layer. That's why if I change the name, you can see that there was there was some shifting. But if it's not auto layout, this will not shift. But if I want to change the avatars, I want to change all these avatars to maybe something else. So you can just use your own splash and select portrait, and it should just give everything selected different avatars. But then we want to show that you are in one of them because you are either sending or receiving. Then if it's transferred, this will have to change from arrow to probably arrow back because, and then maybe red to show that probably is transferred, and stuff like that. So yeah, any question? Okay. Yeah, fit.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah,
You said we're supposed to do replicate a design and submit before Saturday.
yeah. I said that.
Today is
Yeah,
Thursday. We already have one assignment, and I'm sure
yeah.
some other
I know
people
that.
have other involvements. I don't know if the deadline can be shifted, probably to Sunday or so. Most of us don't have laptop of our own, so we'll have to
Mm.
wait for whoever we're borrowing from, and so many things are just involved. I just feel the Saturday is too close.
Okay, so every other person shared the same concern now. So Sunday works for everybody, is it? Sunday it is then. That's fine.
Mr. Emmanuel, that Sunday, are you sure it will work? Let's be very frank, oh, because this one that we are doing, gathering ourselves is already removing our pants or from our waist. So
You never
it's a
start.
lot of
I can
work.
work under pressure. I can work under pressure. Where's the pressure?
Yes, I can actually work under pressure, but gathering ourselves to even do this
I beg.
particular assignment. So can we do it on
That's
Monday?
fine,
Can we
that's
so
fine.
let's set deadline
When
on
I yeah, no, when I decide on, I've heard you guys, yeah. So when I decide on the one that you work, now, of course, I don't expect you to spend more than 1 hour on this design. I don't expect this. If I decide to give you this, right, you cannot spend more than 1 hour on this. There's a problem if you do. Do you understand? But eventually, I decide to give you this, then I'll say, okay, let's do 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours. That's fine. But I will not give you this. I expect you to spend 4 days on it. This is just one. That's why I dwelt more on reusable components to increase your design speed. Do you understand? Not as much as you know what you're doing, but if you cannot give out, if you cannot give out the design as I when due, you are lacking behind. In this case now, this is one block. I can make one of these, duplicate it 5 times, right? And then I modify my stuff. So I don't expect you to spend the same time on this with this. I know you have engagement. I mean, myself and Umi gave you that. It's intentional, right? But at the same time, where we are going to next week, you need every UI practice you can get at the moment. But yeah, I get you. I know your concerns. That's fine. When what I decide to give, then if the deadline is not right, it's not doesn't work for you guys, just indicate and we can always modify, right? So yes,
All right, sir.
hey, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday. Okay. Nancy,
Hi, Mr. Emmanuel.
hi.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, ladies. So, we are having a little challenge with the grouping thing. Some people
Okay.
are not responding to some of us. So, I don't know. I planned what I wanted to do for my own group was like to give them from now to tomorrow for the two people in my group to respond. And if they don't, I'll have to revert back to you guys. So, if there is a way we can be regrouped again, because
Because of two
we have
people.
our
Are you serious?
yeah,
So
so
in a
people are not
team, yeah,
responding.
I don't expect everybody to respond, but I know who respond and who doesn't respond. So whoever your group lead is, whoever assumes that position, handle it like a leader, yeah, handle it like a leader. If people don't respond, that's fine. Note them down. When you are giving your report, of course, you give a group report. We split into 19 groups. I expect 19 results. I don't expect individual people, right? When you're handling down, I need to know who did this and who did not participate. So saying that we
Okay,
should regroup you because one person decided not to turn up. I mean, if you're working in a real life scenario, yeah, your all your team members will not show up at the same time, but then the job has to be done. So whoever the group leader is, handle that responsibility. Do you get that?
yes. So
I
I'll pass the
appreciate.
message across to some other people that are complaining. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
every other person, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions so far?
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, mentor. So I have a question from the last assignment. I don't know if I should go ahead with it. But then, first off, this assignment you just gave us, please, will it be posted on the channel or?
Yeah, of course, of course. I've not given you an
Oh,
assignment yet.
oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but whatever I decide to give, I'll definitely post the picture on the channel
All
and
right.
deadline also.
All right. Thank you. So I just saw your comments on my Figma design from
That's
the
for you.
last
That's for you and I.
assignment.
Yeah, that's for you and I.
All right. All right. So, all right. All right. No problem.
Well,
Thank
no,
you.
no, no, no. Say it. Maybe somebody benefit from it. It's like no, yeah, just shoot.
Okay. I was the one that my type skill was reading. Shout out
Okay,
his
hi.
name.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I saw you laughing my ass off. Then that was not the point. You were asking me why I started my design, why I left so much space from the edge to like the first column.
Yeah,
Do you remember that space? You were asking me why did I leave that space?
I do remember. The one on the right was not the same as the one on the left. So there was too much space on the left and then too little space on the right. That was my problem.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought I was following the first columns, so that was why there was. Check it and make adjustments. Thank you, sir.
That's fine. That's fine. So if I make comment on your work and then you don't understand it, please feel free to message me and I'll clarify it to the best of my knowledge, right? So if then another thing also, so I see you guys are doing beautiful works on your design, but then I would not hire you, right? I would not hire. Well, I'm not say I would not because if I have the opportunity, of course I would. But my point is, all these things you are doing, always put them on your dribble, Behance, or socials. Let people out there know that this is what you do, and then this is how you do it. I see your typography skill, and if at the end the typography skill works for you, write a medium article on typography skill. Bottom line is put yourself out there. Because if you know all these things and you keep it inside your draft or Figma draft, Figma doesn't even have access to your drafts, right? So you will still you will not achieve the aim. I know you want to be educated and you want to do the Web3 stuff, but also you need to get money. So put yourself out there, keep on designing and then keep on posting your work. Don't worry about if somebody's calling you out, you're designing, whatever. Everything depends on how you structure your statement, right? As I said earlier when I started this class, not this class, but this course. Now, part of being a good designer, the early stages is replicating other people's design. Now, to even bust the bubble, right? Even when you are in a working scenario, if I'm designing for a client, all what I do in my mood board stages, I gather about 20 different mood boards from different platforms that work in line with what I want to achieve. And I just remix, tweak to fit business goals. Of course, having idea of my basic UX laws and UI fundamentals. And I achieve what I want to achieve. And then it's a unique thing. There's nothing that is new. Nothing is new under the surface of the earth or the sun. Nothing. So if you are thinking that you don't want to feel too bad that you're not creating ideas by yourself, the moment you start creating by yourself, you will not even know because from the onset you'll be creating by yourself, right? So if that's all, I'll stop recording now and then I'll dispatch the class. Any other questions so far? Yes, Faith.
Sorry, I wanted to ask, when will this recording be available to us?
I don't handle that particular section, but I will speak to the person handling it and let them know to dispose it as soon as they get it.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. So enjoy your night, ladies. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.